I have finally caved and I have read the beginning after the end, light novels 1 and 2, and maybe 3 and 4. These videos are to come. And I'm gonna give you some of the differences between the light novel and the webtoon. Let's go. What is going on, people? It is me, JC, one of the best reactors on YouTube. So ever since I started reacting to the beginning after the end, I've heard one consistent thing: light novel, light novel, light novel. The light novel's done it better. Light novel did it different. So in this video for books 1 and 2, I'm going to tell you some of the most important differences between the webtoon and the light novel. Now let's start this off by talking about the awakenings between the augmenters and the conjurers. Now we all remember Arthur's awakening, a mana-induced explosion that took out most of his house. Now I didn't even notice or even think about what happens to conjurers when they actually awaken. While augmenters' mana flowed outwards, representing the strength of their mana channels, conjurers actually had a vacuum effect representing their mana veins. Now Arthur is our main character, so therefore we understand why his awakening was so in the forefront of the webtoon, but it was oddly glossed over when it came to conjurers. So when I read the light novel, they went in depth and in detail, but I was wondering, why did Turtle Me leave out the conjurers in the webtoon? It is only my theory, but I think it's because of the vacuum effect. When it came to Tessia, she kind of had the same type of explosion that Arthur had, which kind of didn't make sense because Arthur has an explosion going outwards, and Tessia should have had inwards vacuum effect. Then where does the matter go when it actually has a vacuum effect that goes inwards? Maybe Turtle Me really didn't want to explain this, therefore he left it out of the webtoon altogether. Now let's talk about mana rotation. Mana rotation is simply the gathering of mana while moving and or fighting. As a webtoon reader, I was excited about the possibilities of mana rotation, how it could be used, just to end up forgetting about it because it was never mentioned again in the story. So imagine my surprise. Not only does Arthur use the skill, damn near every time he uses mana, he talks about mana rotation. It feels like it's almost every other sentence in the light novel. It is so prevalent in a light novel, it feels almost criminal for Turtle Me to exclude it from the webtoon, and for some reason in my brain I cannot figure out why. Maybe Turtle Me thought of it as a passive skill that he mentioned it once, so maybe he thought his readers would think about it again and think, oh, Arthur using mana rotation. Let us talk about Lucas Wykes. Now, whether you're talking about the webtoon version or the light novel version, Lucas Wykes is a total dick in both versions. But I felt like when Turtle Me wrote Lucas in the light novel, the impact of his evil wasn't high enough. He wasn't evil enough. He wasn't menacing enough. So he made a few changes in Lucas Wykes' personality to make him seem more like a bad guy. So when Lucas took his adventurer's exam, only thing he did in the light novel was complain about the test until he figured out he was going to be a B-class adventurer. Then he let everything go and he was fine. But in the webtoon, after he took the test, he complained about it and then decided to attack the proctor again after the test was over. Man looked like a guy who didn't like losing and was willing to hurt somebody. Now when it came to the betrayal of Arthur, in the light novel, Lucas only did one blast, and that blast attacked Arthur, and of course the residual hit Jasmine and then kind of knocked her out. Then in the webtoon, he attacked Arthur, and then when everybody came to Arthur's aid, he attacked them also, which made 2 separate blasts, and then Lucas left them all to die. So now it seems like he did what he did. So then in the future, when you know what happens to Lucas actually happens, we don't feel as bad. We still got that bad taste in our mouth. All right, guys, I want to talk about someone who I kind of ignored and didn't really think about in the webtoon, but in the light novel has become near and dear to my heart. We're talking about Elijah Knight. Now, one of the hardest things to do in this series is to condense your core and purify your core. Elijah Knight, and I'm going to refer to him as a third person from now on, Elijah Knight does not have to meditate. His core purifies and condenses on his own at a faster rate than normal people. He's strong in the fact that he can manipulate Earth mana in the way that he wants to, but he can't do the simple things and he lacks control, so he can't make like an Earth golem to fight for him. Now, how Elijah Knight is different, he's able to manipulate and change other structurally similar things into Earth mana. So he's able to go to a tree and make a tree into Earth mana and makes Earth come out of that tree as spikes. He's able to change the structure and basically the DNA of certain elements, not water or air, but anything that has the root of Earth mana, such as trees, grass, even rocks or whatever. He's able to manipulate it and do what he wants to with it. Okay, guys, let's be honest. When it comes to the lances, I kind of wrestled whether or not I want to put them in the video because when it came to the webtoon, they were hinted about, and Byron was the foe that Arthur had to overcome if he wanted to get his revenge on Lucas. His name wasn't said, and at the same time, we knew it was only Lucas's half brother. And then when he was introduced as a lance, Arthur was like, okay, this is my goal. I have to get it stronger than him. But in the light novel, Byron was not mentioned. The lances were not mentioned. And the only thing Arthur had to deal with was the all-powerful Wykes military family that would go to no lengths to get their revenge if Arthur did something to Lucas. So the lances, if I may give a small spoiler to my future videos, aren't even mentioned. Like when I say not mentioned, they might say the lances as in they're introduced, but after that, you don't hear anything about them. They're not even in the story. So when the light novel community was coming at me and saying they were making some big changes, they were kind of talking about the lances. So Turtle must have felt like he needed more lances presence to kind of fill some gaps, but I don't think he did, if I'm being honest with you. All right, guys, that is it for me in this video. Tell me what you guys thought about the differences between the light novel and the webtoons book 1 and 2. So don't forget to subscribe to your boy because book 3 is in the works. It's going to be a multi-part video because there are a lot, and I mean a lot of differences in book 3 onwards. I will see you guys in the next video. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you are here with me, and I appreciate that. Peace. We're out of here. All right, guys, this is for the real ones to stay for the end of the video. I want to talk about mana manipulation. Now, in the webtoon, Arthur taught this as the first lesson in his class. In the light novel, he actually taught it to his father first. So what he did was use a flame, and he shot a flame at a cloth. Now, he did that first, and his father's like, okay, you know, any orange or father can shoot out a flame and hit something. What Arthur did is take the same amount of mana, manipulated that mana, changed the color, which made a harder flame, and then shot the same cloth. He did that over and over again with the same amount of mana. He said, hey, Dad, if you manipulate it or learn to manipulate the actual mana and make it harder, you can use the same amount of mana and make a harder fire spell. So it actually enables you to use the same amount of mana and not go over or extend yourself more and have harder flames. And this can be done if you understand mana and have a higher enough core